Hi guys. Hey, another week has gone by. So let's take this up. This is what I left you with yesterday. So, I have my longest chain right here. So I want to make sure that my most important group gets the lower number. Well, is it alkyne? No. Is it alkene? No. Of course, it's these guys, which we call alcohol, that we learned yesterday. So, where do you left to right, right to left to right, or right to left? Of course, left to right, because alcohol gets number 3. If you go the other way around, alcohol won't be seen until number 4. So left to right is your better bet. Side group. These two are side group. Okay, this is an isopropyl side group, and this is a cyclopentyl side group. Of course, isopropyl comes first. So iso 3 isopropyl, 6 cyclopentyl. Oh. We have 2 triple bond, 1 double bond in this longest chain. So if you remember correctly, this is what we're going to have to do. We write non, which stands for your 9 carbon longest chain. And you will indicate where your triple bond is first. 1,4 diene. Then you indicate where your double bond is. 8-ene. Then you indicate where your alcohol is. 3,6 diol. Alright? So, again, hopefully you guys are comfortable with that kind of stuff. You'll note, if you're good with this, you'll notice that from here on, pretty much, things are going to be quite repetitive. The only difference is the functional group may be different. Alcohol may not be the most important group later on, and it becomes a side group instead. So the priority will be taken by something that will come next. So it's very important that right now, at this point, which I usually call midpoint of organic nomenclature, that you guys are comfortable. If not, please go back and review my previous videos, okay, regarding alkyne, alkene, alkyl, and stuff like that, cyclo. So, thinking the fact that this is midpoint, yeah, I might want to give you a little midpoint assignment on these things. So you guys can name these guys. Right? Maybe sometime next week. I haven't thought about that yet, but just to make that I'm comfortable, that you guys are comfortable with this. All right. So today will be a shorter day. Okay, I'm gonna show you some more alcohol in terms of their importance. And I'm just going to introduce you to the next functional group. In fact, they come in a form of trio. Okay, so let's clear this out. Okay, and let me just give you a little bit of notes regarding primary alcohol, secondary alcohol, ooh, I think I've been spelling alcohol wrong. What am I thinking? Right, it's very late at night. I'm sure you guys are noticing this, the time that I'm recording all of this, right? Okay, and tertiary alcohol. Okay. Now, what's the difference? The difference, of course, is the type of R group or the amount of R group that is connected to the OH. So, if OH is connected by one R group, okay, or the R group, or the carbon, in fact, the carbon right here, is just a long chain of R group. We call this a primary alcohol. A secondary alcohol, in this case, will require two R group, like this. Okay, the carbon connected to OH. Of course, this carbon will be connected to some sort of R group, and another, maybe different R group. Okay, and a tertiary alcohol. Again, carbon connected to the OH, and connected to three different types of R group. That will be a tertiary alcohol. Okay. In terms of naming them, whatever we've been doing is still legitimate. Okay, OH has to inherit the lower number of a chain. Not a big deal. So yesterday when we were doing those questions, you actually have exposed yourself to these guys already. So primary alcohol, secondary alcohol, and tertiary alcohol, not a big deal. So let me just give you an example of each. So this right here, ethanol, is a primary alcohol. Okay. This right here, isopropanol, is a secondary alcohol. And something like this. Okay. 2-methyl 2-propanol will be an example of a tertiary alcohol. In fact, they call this 2-butyl. Tertbutanol. Some people call that too. Okay, because hopefully you'll kind of see that, oh, that's a tertbutyl group connected to OH. So T-butanol is totally legitimate, and people do say that. Just like how people would call this isopropyl. No. Right? Okay. So your primary alcohol, secondary alcohol, and tertiary alcohol is based on, of course, the carbon bonded to the OH is also bonded to how many other carbon. So some students mistaken primary, secondary, and tertiary alcohol as 1 carbon, 2 carbon, and 3 carbon, but of course it's not really just that. All right, it's based on the carbon that is connected to the alcohol and is connected to how many other carbon. So this carbon connected to the alcohol is connected to 1 other carbon, primary. Okay, this carbon connected to the alcohol is connected to 2 other carbon, secondary. This one, 3 other carbon, tertiary. That's how you determine this. So we'll come back to this because this is important when we do reaction later on. We're going to do something called oxidation reaction. Wow, doesn't that sound familiar? And we'll see why that is important, because the oxidation of this will give you a different result than the oxidation of that. I tell you right now, this one does not oxidize. So thank goodness. All right. This sort of brings me to my next functional group. Okay? I'm not going to tell you what oxidation is yet, but I can tell you the result would be this trio of functional group. This trio, people call the organic trio, is called carbonyl. group. Okay, the carbonyl group consists of 3 functional groups. Now, the 5th functional group that I'm going to be talking about starting the next time I'm going to be giving you a video is going to be called the aldehyde group. Okay. Now, let me just give you all 3. Okay. Ketone group and carboxyl group. There's many names for this guy, eh? Okay. Some people call it organic acid and stuff like that, but the real name is called carboxyl. Now, the question is this: what is carbonyl? Carbonyl stands for carbon connected to oxygen, double bond wise. So whenever you have carbon connected to O, okay, C double bond O, that's considered to be a carbonyl derivative. And this can happen here, here, and here. Now, this is where the difference comes in. Aldehyde, you'll have some sort of R group. And this R group is connected to the carbon that is double bonded to an oxygen and single bonded to an H. So you'll have this orientation. This could be anything. It could be a long carbon chain with side group all over the place. But that's what R is. Okay? But as long as you have C double bond O and single bond to the H, that's an aldehyde. Now, how is that different from its cousin, ketone? Well, ketone will have C double bond O. It'll have the R. But instead of an H here, no. It is connected to more hydrocarbon group, and it may be different. Let's call that R prime. Okay? So that's what we call ketone group, where the carbon connected to the double bond O is not what we call the terminal carbon. The word terminal means end. End. Okay, it's not the end carbon, which this one is an end carbon. Okay, this one belongs to a carbon in the middle somewhere, because there's going to be chain here, who knows? But that's ketone whenever you see it. Now, carboxyl, okay, is when you have C, again, double bond O, no R, no H, but an OH. Okay, on this side, again, some sort of long carbon chain. This carbon is a terminal carbon. Most cases, 90% of the time, 100% of the time, in fact, for this course, this guy's carbon number 1. All right. So in the next, so for this week, oh, sorry, this week is done. For next week, we're gonna base all our attention to carbonyl group, starting with aldehyde, then ketone, then carboxyl. Hopefully you don't mix it up. Okay, and that will take care of our 5th, 6th, and 7th functional group. All right. Anyway, as I said, it's going to be a short lesson. Let me just give you an example of each of these, and then we'll call it. Okay. So, an aldehyde this is an example of an aldehyde. a 2-carbon aldehyde. Okay, I'll tell you what his name is later on. Actually, you know, I'll just tell you what it is. Okay, ethanol. Here's an example. Why don't I use the same color? Here it is. This is called propanol. And finally, this guy. And don't tell me you have never seen him before. You've seen him before. Oh, yes, you have. He's never written it C-double-bond-O-N-O-H. We always write C-O-O-H. This is called ethanoic acid. Right. So next week, I will tell you exactly why these names are to be. Hopefully you kind of, figure it out on your own. Anyway,